A new research study conducted by Loughborough University and recently published in the medical journal Physiology and Behaviour has revealed that dehydrated drivers make the same number of mistakes as drink drivers. To find out more about the study, I caught up with Dr. Phil Watson from Free University Brussels and lead researcher on the study, and Dr. Jane Holdsworth, who's director of the European Hydration Institute. I began by asking Dr. Watson to describe the study.
Over the past 20 years there have been various research studies which have shown that aspects of cognitive function or mental performance are reduced when people are dehydrated. So things like concentration, memory, decision making may be impaired to some extent when people are restricting their fluid intake. And we thought this could potentially have implications for people's everyday lives, so their working life and also their personal life. And one aspect of our personal life which is quite significant and has real implications for safety is driving and driver safety. So the study bore out of an interest in that way.
How was it conducted?
So we recruited a group of relatively young, fit, healthy males, and what we did was we studied them under two separate conditions. One was a hydrated condition where they consume their normal fluid intake, and the second condition was a fluid restricted or dehydrated condition where we asked them to limit their fluid intake to 25% of what they would normally consume. This caused a level of dehydration which was, fairly mild and would be in line with what someone might experience if they had a particularly busy day and didn't have free access to drinks. The following day we asked them to come into the lab and they undertook a 2-hour driving simulator test, which mimics motorway or main road driving, where they drove for 2 hours on a monotonous highway. They had to overtake cars and behave as you would on a normal motorway. And we monitored the number of errors they made, so whether they drifted out of the lane inappropriately, whether they braked too soon or too late.
What were the results of the study?
So the main finding of the study was that in the fluid-restricted trial, when people were dehydrated, they made over twice as many minor errors as they did when they performed the same trial under hydrated conditions. We also measured some perceptual measures, so we asked people how they were feeling. We asked them how well they felt they could concentrate, how alert they felt, and both of these measures were reduced when people were dehydrated compared to hydrated.
Were you surprised by the results?
We were certainly surprised at the magnitude of the effect, or how big a difference we saw between the two trials. We did expect some difference, but to see over twice as many errors in the dehydrated condition compared to the hydrated condition was certainly surprising to us.
Jane, you've also conducted a survey alongside the study. What did this show?
We conducted some research to go alongside the lab study, which aimed to find out what British drivers do in practice. And it showed that whilst many people claim to take a drink with them on a long road journey, only about 20% have a drink before they set out. We also found that maintaining proper hydration is considered less important to drivers than other things such as having a good night's sleep, wearing comfortable clothing or having a comfortable seating position, which were all considered to be more important. In fact, only about 6% of people thought that maintaining proper hydration was the most important factor. And finally, only about a third of drivers claimed to stop every 2 hours, and less than half actually recognised that mild dehydration increases the chance of having a car accident.
What's your advice to drivers ahead of the summer?
My advice to drivers setting out on a long journey ahead of the summer would be, first of all, set out on a long journey well hydrated. Don't avoid having a drink before you go because you're concerned about having to stop to go to the bathroom. Secondly, I'd suggest that you stop every 2 hours and top up your hydration levels. If you are thirsty, it's a sign that you're probably already dehydrated, so if that's the case, definitely stop and rehydrate. And finally, in hot conditions or when the air conditioning is on, you're likely to dehydrate more quickly, so pay particular attention to your hydration needs in these conditions.
Where can people go for more information?
The European Hydration Institute has a website, europeanhydrationinstitute.org, which has a wealth of information and tips and advice that people can look at and can download at no cost. There are also many other health websites, such as national health websites, which will provide good advice to people when they're setting out to drive.